All right. Good afternoon, everybody. And I'm going to try and get this all set up on here. We're doing a live stream on part preparation. And I am. There we go. So I'm going to have the comments going via my phone while I walk you guys through the part preparation aspect of composing. This is a pretty tedious element. And so what you're going to see is the live screenshot of my workstation. Okay, and so what I'm going to work on for this is Symphony 4, which is all done. The score is all engraved, but I've got to do the parts. And the parts take a long time. This is a really tedious aspect. And historically, composers were not asked to prepare their own parts. Somebody else did this. This is where engravers came in. But with computer software, well, that has changed a lot. And so we composers have to now prepare our own parts. So the parts I'm going to be working on today are oboes 1 and 2. And right off the bat, this is the part that Finale preps for me. And this is ugly as sin. So there's a few ways to do it. I'm going to do a little less traditional way. Well, actually, it's probably the more traditional way. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to extract parts. And I am just going to extract oboes 1 and 2. And this is going to create a new file just of this. And one of the things you want to do is I don't want to have an oboe 1 and 2 combined part. I want the two parts separate. Oboe on one part, oboe 1 on one part, oboe 2 on another part. So I've got to create those. And look, is this a new part? Yeah, okay. So, first thing I'm going to do is, remember, I'm using Finale here. And I'm going to go to Staff Tool, Staff, and New Blank Staff. So I have two staffs here. And I need to go and rename those staffs. So, oboes 1 and 2 is just going to become oboe 1. Piccolo, I use Finale. I've got Sibelius, and I will use Sibelius for stuff like commercial scoring. If I get some commercial stuff that comes in. But by and large, I do everything in Finale. All right, so first thing first is I now have my two staffs, and I'm not worrying about the fact that the staff name is not appearing here. That will appear later. So I've got to start splitting out the parts. So I've got to put information in there. And the easiest way I found to do this is, since I've got them in two layers right now, I go to Move Layers, and I move contents of layer 1 into layer 2. So the lower notes disappear. Now I do the same thing, but in reverse for both parts, and do layer 2 into layer 1. And by doing that, lo and behold, it all looks good. But take a look at those rests. That's not good. I have a plugin that will fix that. It's JW Change. And I want to go to rests, vertical level, and I'm just going to reset them to their normal position. Boom, that is done. Oh yeah, it looks way better than Musescore. Well, yeah. Musescore is not a good-looking software notation. You know, I know a lot of people use Musescore. Those people don't get paid work. And so therein is a an issue because Musescore is not something you're going to use for a professional gig. All right, so the next step is I need to split these off. Now this is a different tool. I want to go to Explode Music, and I need to put these in Oboe 1 and Oboe 2. Two-part, and boom, lo and behold, it just splits it off right there, easy peasy. But let's see, it looks like okay, so my crescendos and decrescendos did not copy through there. Let's try that again. That should take crescendos and decrescendos in there. So we're going to do that same thing again. And I don't know why it didn't do that the first time. Okay, we're going to have to put those in by hand. That's always fun, especially when there's a bunch of them. But it shouldn't take too long. Yes, Carlos, I do use Finale. I have been a Finale guy since '98. And once I tried learning Sibelius, and I don't like it. It feels like it's like learning a different language. And this kind of stuff right here is why creating parts becomes tedious, because I have to do a lot of extra note entry. And this isn't even the critical stuff here. And I hate right there how that looks. And you find when you're doing the parts, what looks good on page in the score will not look good on the parts. All right. So something like this right here, it measures 61, look good on the score, but once I get to the parts, it does not look good at all. All right, so again, if they're the same layer like they are here, I can do utilities, explode, and just split them off into two. If they're in different layers, though, the easiest way I know is just the copy paste and then layer shift. So like this, copy, and then move layers, layer 1 into 2, and then on both of them, layer 2 into 1. And that fixes that, and then I've got to go and fix my rests. That adjusts those. And then Oboe sections are always easy. That's just a straight copy paste. So like that. And make sure you delete the Oboe. By the way, it is Oboe and it's not A2. Okay, so this is just a simple explode. Okay, now I have something a little more challenging here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do an explode. But you will see that some of the notes did not transfer because they were unison. So that fixes that. Now, I don't have the parts made at all. So in order to do that, I need to now split out the two parts. So I'm going to go here to Document, Edit Parts, and I've got to generate new parts. That should take care of that there. Edit part, and oh, it did not generate new parts. So we're going to do that again. We're going to manage parts, generate parts. There we go. And we hit OK. Now I should have oboes 1 and 2. There they are. So let's go ahead and look at oboe 1. Okay, and I now have a new thing to work with. Am I using Maestro font? No, I use Engraver font. I never did quite like Maestro. I do everything Engraver for the notes, and then for all the text, I use Century Schoolbook. I really like the way Century Schoolbook looks. All right, so what I'm doing now is you can see that there are a bunch of places where the staffs are just too close together. All right, and what I'm on the lookout for through here are what we call collisions. So collisions are where any two elements just butt up against each other, and they shouldn't. All right. So I can move this. And one thing I do want to do real quick is I want to check my percentage on the page. I am defaulting on this piece to a percentage of 90. So that is what I want. So let's just look at this first page to see if it looks good. There is a collision right here with this accidental and the slur, so I'm just going to move that, not accidental, but accent mark. So I'm just going to move that a little bit. All right, so let's look at these. I do not like how those transferred. So we're going to fix those. That looks better there. All right, so we're just going to kind of double check page 1. My goal is to have this at about 2 pages for the oboe part. That way the oboe player won't have any page turns. However, looking at this second page here, man, this second page is ugly. So this is where we really have to work. And this is where a lot of, I put in the title, graphic design, because that's essentially what part preparation is graphic design. Your job is to make this look as good on the page as possible. So I am making sure everything is in a line. Okay, so here's something that I tend to do. So here at rehearsal G, that's at the end of a line. I want that at the beginning. So what I do is control down button, and that sends it to the next line. Now I need to unlock it, and I need to update my layout. But again, this just looks like utter crap. This is not one of those great elements of finale here. One of the nice things about finale is how powerful it is. It will do pretty much everything that a composer or an engraver needs. The downside of it is a lot of those elements are incredibly difficult to use. I'm just going to see. All right, so it looks like we're probably going to get to a 3-page part here, which is fine if I can fill up the 3rd page. So I don't like having on my parts half a page. Okay, so what I've got here. So look at this, how the Poco is hanging over. We're going to fix that. So I'm going to start moving measures around. And in doing that and respacing it, and look at that, that hangs over too. So that needs to go over. And actually what I found is a nice 2-2 split there. Works surprisingly well. And if I do that, and we can do that, we can do that. And look at that. Look at how much better that looks on the page. So I've got 6 bars, 6 bars, 4 bars, and an extended rest. And it looks much, much nicer. I've got my words spaced here, but I don't like the positioning on that. And take a look at this line. So this is somehow got locked, so I just hit it's Control-Shift-L, that unlocks it, and that shifts everything to where it needs to be. And let's go here to that third page. Okay, so this page, it now looks nasty, doesn't it? So that's all moving this around. Okay, so I've got some stuff that needs to get moved around. I don't like where that is. I like that look better. One of the key elements in composing and in music in general is take more time in preparing things than you think you're going to need. Okay, so I have nearly half a page here that needs to get filled up. So how am I going to do that? Well, we're going to start increasing stuff earlier on. All right, so I said I liked about 6 bars here. This has like 7 or 8. And so we're just going to go back here to measure 1 and just kind of start respacing. And in doing that, So one aspect to really think about is your job in creating the part is to make it as easy on the player as possible and to have as little rehearsal time as possible dedicated to errors. And right here, I've found an error at I. So I need to go back and I has a problem. And that's where I did not split out the parts. So that is super simple. All I have to do is this. Utilities explode. Done. And I'm going to go back to Oboe 1 part. And there we go. At I, that looks good. Okay, so let's take a look now at that third page and how much blank space. And we've only got a little bit of blank space now, so I think there's a way to fix that. And that way is start increasing the space between the systems as evenly as you can. And if I can get one more system on that page, I think I'd be happy. Aha, here's a problem right here. So that needs to go down. And there, it just shifted. By doing that, I just shifted that system. All right, so that looks good. That looks good. And that's now a decent 3-page part for Oboe 1. And that is movement 1. Now, I'm going to go on to Oboe 2. And ew, this looks nasty. Okay, so first off, I'm going to get Control U. And that did absolutely nothing. So, good. That means we're going to have to do this the long way. So yeah, this is gonna take a while. Luckily, it looks like Oboe 2 part will probably be a 2-pager, not a 3. And that's because Oboe 1 had a long solo in it that Oboe 2 does not have. Okay, so first thing I need to move is where we have this un poco piomoso. That needs to go to the next line. And in general, where I can have it, I want my tempo changes at the beginning of the line, and it just looks so much nicer. Okay, so here we have some collisions. And one way to do that is I'm going to send that to the next system. I'm going to update that. And then this page is an utter mess, isn't it? Ugh, that never hand that to a player. Okay. So a lot of this is just stretching them out. Yeah, we'll be able to do this on 2 pages, no biggie. Now, what's going on here? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to go to here, Utilities, Music Spacing, and I'm going to go to Note Spacing. That fixed my problem there. But it gives me the problem I don't like where that moderato e pesante is, and that needs to be on the next line. Okay. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions, guys. I'm just going to kind of talk through this, and this is one of those hidden elements of being a composer that not a lot of people talk about. Okay, so now I have some decisions to make because I now have just a hair bit onto that 3rd page, and I do not want to have a 3rd page if I can get away with it. Which means I need to make some adjustments earlier on. If I can get System 10 up onto page 1, I think I can reduce the page. don't think I'm going to be able to, actually. There it is. Now, yeah, that's it. Got plenty of space down here. I could do that. I can. Now that doesn't look good at all, does it? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I've got it all on 2 pages now, but I do not like how cramped it is. Now, I have seen more cramped in pieces I've been given, but I'm going to try and make that a little bit better because I want to assume that the players. I actually assume players have bad vision. And that's kind of a smart thing to do. Assume your players don't have perfect vision. And if you do that, you will tend to make better parts. And the reason for that is you're going to have to make your parts clearer. All right, so right here is where I start seeing issues. So what I can do, that really does not look good with 4 bars per page with triplets. 5 bars per page with eighth notes looks okay. 4 bars per page with triplets does not. Okay. And I don't, as of right now, I don't think I can get this any more compact and still readable. I don't like how high this is, but that works. Okay, so I think that is going to be good for Oboes 1 and 2. Now, I'm going to go and create PDFs of both of them. And this is a royal pain in the butt, and I believe they have fixed this for Finale 2006, but in 2000, Finale 25, it does not work. So, 1, you cannot export to PDF, no matter what people tell you. I've got to print to PDF. And every time I switch file when I print to PDF, I have to change the printer. And this is a bug in the system. Okay, so I'm going to make sure print to PDF. And I want to hit OK. And I'm going to my parts folder and you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do flutes and oboes in the same folder. That way, and I just need to name it 1 oboe 1 for first movement oboe 1. And then the second one is 1 oboe 2. And finale to and there we go. 1 oboe 2. Save. Okay, that's parts created for the first movement. Now, that took 30 minutes to create those parts. I have 4 other movements. So we're going to move on to movement 2. And here I have so we're going to go to the score. And this is actually going to be a little bit different, because in the score, I have them already on different staffs. So, fantastic. I can go here and I can edit the parts directly from the original score. And lo and behold, look at how much different this is. This right here is workable. Okay. So, right off the bat, we need to just start moving things around. So I had this 11 bar thing, and this is just kind of moving stuff around, making it look cleaner on the page. All right, let me check my percentage real quick. That'll change a little bit. And I wonder. Nope. All right, so that looks better. No, that looks terrible. What the heck? Why did it do that? Okay. Okay, it's just basically telling me to start over. And I guess I have to. Oh, technology. I was hitting the wrong key. That's what was going on, in case you're curious, which I don't think anyone really is. Okay. Alright, so this un poco più quasi maestoso needs to be at the beginning of a line. There's no way around it because that's such a long tempo marking. Okay. And all right, let's take a look at this overall on the page. And yeah, I want that to be more in line there. That looks good. And the first system needs to come down just a hair because it was clashing. But otherwise, that is a part that I'd be happy giving to a player. Let's go to alto oboe now. And it's going to look very similar here. No, I got to do that, don't I? Okay. This also gets you kind of a sneak look into what the music of Symphony 4 looks like. And lo and behold, this one looks pretty good with minimal work. I do want to look at something real quick. Nope, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I am pretty happy with that. So let me go ahead and print the PDFs of that. And I don't need to do too much more. And that kind of part making is easy. So, set up. Print to PDF. Check none. Check. Check. So if you ever wonder why a piece of music is so expensive, this is part of it. It's just the time that goes into creating just the part itself. It is time consuming. It's laborious. I started making parts yesterday. I've already spent several hours this morning creating parts. Just the parts alone will probably take, I would bet I'll probably spend close to 40 hours creating the parts. Okay, now I need to move to movement 3. And here's the movement 3. And edit the full score. Alright, so in this one, this is another one like movement 1 where I've got oboes 1 and 2 on the same part. So I have to extract that. Check none. Check that. Okay. And I should have an oboe 1 and 2 part coming up. And same thing as before, I've got to add a new staff. And I have to rename my staffs. So that goes to oboe 1. Well, that's definitely not what I wanted. Then here, we're going to go ahead and woodwind oboe. Oboe 2. And honestly, I don't even know why I didn't use an English horn in this particular movement. I think it was before I made the decision to add the English horn alto oboe in. But alright, so what I just did there is just split out the parts. Just what Finale calls exploding the parts. Oboe passages are easy. That's just straight copy paste. I will say one thing though. Oboe oboes, if you're a composer, that's a very, very difficult thing to do. I don't recommend doing it very often. If it's well hidden within the texture, fine. This kind of line right here would work really well. It's supposed to be pretty thick. Oboes are the only woodwind that does not like oboe very well. At something like this at fortissimo, yeah, you're not even going to hear the oboes. So it should be fine. Okay, So I've got the parts split out. Now let's go and manage parts, generate parts. Okay. All right, and we're going to go to edit parts, and we're going to do our Oboe 1. And in an Oboe 1 part, I do not need a 1 marking. That is something only for the score. Or if you happen to have oboes 1 and 2 on the same part. But that is not recommended. The only time you would want oboes 1 and 2 on the same part is if you're working with younger groups. And in that case, I will put oboes 1 and 2, as well as bassoons 1 and 2, on the same page. That way, if there's an important line that happens to be in bassoon 2, the one bassoon player that the band has can cover it. Or same with oboe. It's more crucial in bassoon than it is in oboe, because typically bassoon 2 will have the more important note. All right, and that right there is a pretty quick part. Now let's go to Oboe 2. And you'll notice right away there's a lot less here because Oboe 1 has a bunch of solos. And the fact that this movement is only 51 measures long, which is surprisingly short. The fact that it is a 5-minute long piece that's only 51 bars. It's slow. I do not like Finale's automatic position of that fortissimo there. Okay, I think those parts look good, so I'm going to go ahead and create the PDFs of those. And again, this is the part of Finale that I hate, where I have to switch the printer every time. All right, so that is 3 Oboe 1 and 3 Oboe 2. All right, before I go to movement 4, I'm going to go ahead and do movement 5 because movement 5 is not going to take long. It's already got the parts split. Okay, so here's something with whatever setting happened on this one, the multi-measure rest didn't happen. So real simple, Control-All, and then I can just right-click multi-measure rests and create. And that fixes that problem. And I don't know what's going on with that particular crescendo, but it was kind of wonky. All right. And then I've got some presets on for the score that look good, but sometimes in the parts they don't. Like I've got the all the rehearsal markings offset from the bar line by 0.25, and it looks good on the score, but on the parts it sometimes gets funky. So you can see here with B, I've not adjusted B, and it's to the right of the bar line. It should probably be touching the bar line. Okay. All right, that part looks good. And I don't need to do too much more. And I'm going to go to alto oboe. So same thing here. I am going to do create the multi-measure rest. And there should not be too much here. Before I got to this particular stage, a lot of work did go into making it look as good as it does. There's stuff like I've got some presets here. I've made the bar lines extra thick, so all the bar lines are extra thick throughout all 5 movements. You might be able to tell that the crescendos and decrescendos are extra thick. They're chunky. I've made sure that all my expressions have been bolded. So we can look up here. This pesante, it reads as bold. And italics. Those are always be italics there. Let's see. Again, I don't like that positioning there, but that looks a little bit better. All right. I'd be happy enough handing... no, I don't like this. Fix that earlier, and it just does not look good, does it? That looks surprisingly better. Okay, so I'd be happy handing that part to a player. So let's go ahead and print those off. All right, print, make sure it is on print to PDF. Oop. And for whatever reason, I had those checked. So, okay, that's 5, oboe 1, and 5, alto oboe. Okay, that's good. And finally, we're going to go to movement 4. And movement 4 is going to take a while because there's a lot to deal with in movement 4, which is why I saved it for last. All right. So first off, it is a part where I have to extract. So we're going to go ahead and extract the part. Check none. And there we go. Second, it is the longest of the movements measure-wise. So it's just under 300 measures. So that will take a little bit longer. Luckily, every trick I've shown so far will work in this. Snap. Score manager. All right. So oboes 1 and 2 just gets changed to oboe 1. Woodwinds oboe. And that gets changed to oboe 2. Alright. So as always, we make sure to delete all Oboes. And let's see, how long do they just say split on the same layer? That's easy peasy. So that's up until rehearsal C. So that's utilities, explode, into staffs, done. All right, next thing is oboe solo. That does not go to oboe 2 at all. Interesting. I do not have a marking where it goes back a due. That's something I've got to fix. So I've got to go. Let me go back to the original file. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, I know where it goes back now. All right, so it needs to go back here. Everything before that is one oboe solo. So that is a thing I will probably need to go back and fix in the main score. That's something that a lot of times you'll find when you're creating parts is minor little errors like that, like I left out an Oboe. All right. Smart shapes don't transfer. Also, guys, let me know if you're still watching this. I know this might be just incredibly boring, but there is some good. How far is that Oboe? That goes to there, Oboe. All right, and here at O, it's just straightforward. And boom. Okay, easy peasy. All right. Now I got to manage parts. And I need to hit generate parts. And okay. And I can now go to edit parts. And we'll go edit oboe 1. And so this looks like the mess we had with movement 1. Because we had something very, very similar. So this will take some time to sort out. Okay, I've got page 1 looking. I've just got the systems spread out. Next, I want to get it where it's looking good. And surprisingly, it doesn't look too terrible. I'd like to move system 1 down a hair. And that's better. Okay, let's go to page 2. Oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and, yeah, I've got that already on my 90. So that's good. That's where I want it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get you fixed. I don't like that how that slur is positioned. Okay. Oh, that doesn't look good at all, does it? That needs to go all the way down. There is something to be said for having another person do this. Um, I've sat with this particular movement. I've sat with it now since May. So I wrote this in May, and I'm kind of done with it. I kind of just don't want to mess with this one anymore. It's like I kind of just want to hand it off and get it played and let someone else mess with it. But luckily, it will be getting played. This movement has a performance scheduled in March. The rest of the movement, we're aiming for a December premiere next year. The whole symphony, a December premiere. Just kind of working on some of the details on that. But getting the parts prepped is a big step toward getting all that done. Hey, sweeter. Yeah, this was a little bit impromptu. I'm just kind of live streaming my workflow today because I've got to get parts for Symphony 4 prepared. So this is a long, tedious process, and I've probably been going what, about an hour now. Yeah, right at an hour. And I've nearly got 2 parts prepped. That should tell you something about the part preparation process. It just takes a long time. This is one reason I have not done part preparation on Symphony 3. I don't even want to begin that. In fact, I haven't even finalized the score of Symphony 3, which may surprise you. Symphony, yeah, I have not yet seen a printed Symphony 3 score. Okay, so that's Oboe 1 taken care of. That is a 3-pager. I'm betting, yeah, this is just... let's just get into it. I do not like how Finale does this with extracted parts. And I think there is a better way to do it than how I have done it here. But I have yet to learn it. Finale has a feature called linked parts, which I need to just sit down and learn how to do. I'm pretty sure that it would make my workflow a lot quicker. All right, so let's just go through page 1 real quick. I'm looking for anything that sticks out at me is not looking good. Yeah, it's fine. Page 1's fine. Page 2, on the other hand, looks like horse manure. Let's just get these. I kind of wish scanning, handwritten, engraving, and machine interpreting were reliable. I don't have a lot of engraving experience, but for taking notes and creating little practice things for myself. Uh, there are. I feel more confident writing it than dealing with the software. Yeah, there is some truth to that. I mean, I have been working with this particular software um, over 20 years now. And so dealing with Finale for me is almost kind of like just working in a native language. Uh, I can think in terms of Finale, and I almost wonder sometimes if that kind of dictates how I compose. It's like, okay, I know what I want to write. What's the easiest way to notate that in Finale without having to learn a new trick? And oftentimes I do have to go and learn those new tricks. I had to learn a new trick today when I was creating the percussion parts. Percussion parts are notoriously difficult to do. Okay, so I've got a page 3 dilemma here. Page 3 has 4 systems on it. I want page 3 to have none. So I need to get it to where I can love to get another system on page 1. I might be able to. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm particularly thinking Ableton Live and a couple other interfaces for music production. Yeah, I've got to have the visual. I don't think I'm ever going to switch over to using a DAW. Simply because, to me, the notation is so important. Wait, still don't have. Um, I Okay, well, there is another trick up my sleeve. I'm going to reduce uh, everything here to 88. Just a hair smaller. Let's see if that gets everything on, and it doesn't. So lowest I will go is 85. Okay, so I think I can make 85 work. Like that. Yeah, control update. Yeah, DAW staff editors are not suitable for real part writing or scoring. Yeah, and maybe I have a prejudice against DAWs. Not maybe, I have a prejudice against DAWs. I think they limit composers. And I think some of that comes from my years of Baroque study. With studying Baroque music, so much of that is dependent on how it's notated. All right. I don't think you could do Baroque music with a DAW. I say that, and you've got stuff like Wendy Carlos was switched on Bach, which you could argue was a very early DAW-like system. But there's been all sorts of backlash from hard-nosed classical musicians ever since that came out. All right, there we go. Everything on 2 pages. All right, so let's go through now and look at it. So yeah, it's a little bit smaller than I'd like. But I would rather it be just a hair smaller than to try and force this onto 2 or 3 pages at the bigger size. So this is much more legible. Legibility is key here in engraving. I mean, there's a lot of information on this page. Or at least 2 pages, I should say. And yeah, I think I can live with these parts. Yeah, so if I were handed this oboe part here, I'd be fine with that as a player. Oh, I don't like this. There, that's better. Those just didn't have that right horizontal alignment there. And now they look better. Okay, so that is a completed all the oboe parts for movements 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are completed. And it only took an hour and 10 minutes to do that. To create 2 parts. Of course, I am nowhere near done because I'm not actually through creating the parts. The next step is I'm going to have to create cover pages for them. I'm going to do the cover pages, though, in Word. Yeah, the only potential value of using a DAW for a contemporary classical composer is because Finale can't handle the MIDI triggers needed for good virtual instrument articulations, but that's not... and I'm sure you've got another thing there because YouTube cuts you off. All right, so those are done. But as I was saying, yeah, I will create cover sheets for all of these in Word, and then the next step will be to start merging all the PDFs I've created together, and I will probably make a big zip file with all the parts in it when I ship these out to band directors. And that process, I would love to have that done by the end of the week. But that's not necessary for many. As we've talked before, respect keeping your head in getting things performed by humans as soon as possible. Yeah, music is a human endeavor. Humans can't understand the binary language of moisture evaporators. And I don't think C-3PO could either. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, no, I always am thinking musicians first, real live humans, which is why I spent so much time writing the orchestration text. That's how to write for real live humans with real live limitations. Yeah, so that's nearly an hour and 15 to create 2 parts. That's a lot. That's and that it will take that long for all the others. I've so far done flutes 1, 2, and 3, oboes 1 and 2, bass, percussion. Actually, let me show you the percussion parts. So what I'll do is I'll just go to movement 1, and I'm going to go edit score here. And I can go edit part, and this is what the percussion parts look like. So what I do is, in this particular instance, I write a... It's a combined part for all 4 percussionists. That way, if they have more percussionists than 4, they can split it up. But they can also see what everybody else is doing, and they can take this part to whatever instrument they're going to. Or they can have this part at every instrument and have multiple copies. Percussionists tend to like seeing this more. So I've got the 4 staffs here for the 4 players. It's designed for 4 players. So yeah, long marimba part here before anybody else really plays. But yeah, so that's what one of the percussion parts looks like. And the percussionists could probably see their way in a movement like this one to reduce it even to 3 players, because I don't think I've got all 3 players playing, all 4 players, I should say, playing at exactly the same time. Yeah, typically it's only ever 3 players playing at once. Movement 2 and 4, though, do have all 4 players playing at once. And no, the timpani is not included in this. Timpani is a separate part. It's a separate player. Timpani is really even considered a separate section. But yeah, so that's creating a part, or creating several parts. It's a long, tedious process. But thanks, guys, for watching. I've got a lot more of this to do, and I am out of coffee. So, yeah, we'll talk later. Try and do a live stream later this week, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys.